Hi everyone, my name is KelvinK, pharmacist from Malaysia, and with me, I'm very privileged to have Joyce Ong, a clinical psychologist that has been practicing for many years in Sydney. So our main aim for today's talk is about 5 steps on how to manage our mental health during this COVID season and preventing it to turn into a full-blown depression. Joyce graduated as a master in clinical psychologist with over 6 years of experience. She's recently founded Safe Haven Psychology with the mission to help to create an open platform for people to share about their mental health. In the past and day-to-day job, she had helped people to put on track. A day job is to help people with anxiety, OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, and even depression. Philosophy is embracing humanity from within and to help people to appreciate their own life and live life to their fullest. So today we are going to share, Joyce is going to share with you steps on how we are able to make the best situation out of the worst situation and to gain control of your own life that you always wanted. All right, over to you, Joyce.
Thanks, Kelvin, for the introduction. So I understand that COVID-19 is a very unusual phenomenon for a lot of people where they have to have a lot of disruptions in their usual life. And one of the common things that we might feeling right now is, feeling of being depressed. And so feeling of depressed is actually very common as an adjustment difficulty to an unusual situation. But what we don't want is for it to actually continue to progress into symptoms of depression, which could be like prolonged period of sadness, or you become very irritable a lot of the times. Maybe having changes in your appetite or in your sleep, having very poor sleep, or maybe you're withdrawing from your friends, or having a lot of difficulty with motivation and concentration, but also a sense of feeling like burden or feeling worthless or useless, not being able to achieve as much, and also feeling meaningless in life. So we find that it's very important to talk about it, to talk about mental health. And so we're thinking about, what's the best way to help to remember the 5 steps. And I was like thinking, instead of thinking just how COVID has affected us, I really want to rethink the word COVID. So breaking it down to the 5 alphabets, which is COVID. And I want to say that we can take charge.
That will really make us easy to remember an unforgettable COVID season.
Yeah. So I want to take charge of your life using this 5 steps, which is COVID. So the first step we need to think about is C, which is connect with others. So it's very important because we're social beings. We all live in a society and in a community. It's very important. Now, one of the things that I discussed with Kelvin before is that, the word social distancing was actually a very wrong word to use. It's actually a misnomer because we're talking about physical distancing. Social aspect, social connectivity is still very important. So thinking about the ways that you can keep connection with people is very important. Regular connection, making sure you check in with your friends, your family, making sure that you still have a lot of things that is meaningful, conversations with others, and supporting each other during this time can really help you.
Wow, this what a misconception it is for being. We just have to stay physically distanced instead of we are disconnected socially. Most of the time, I mean, the virus doesn't get to us if let's say we connect via digitally, isn't it?
Yeah, correct. So the idea around just staying, a few feet apart doesn't mean that you're no longer able to smile at someone, no longer able to take a photo and send to someone, and to check in and share jokes and touch base. Those are still very important things to do. So again, remembering about the symptoms of depression, and we don't want to be socially withdrawn. We want to make sure that you stay connected with your friends and family.
All right, great tips. Moving on,
Yeah. So O stands for observe your thoughts and feelings. Now, that is super important because what you focus on, you expand. And so sometimes when we're not aware and we're having really negative thoughts, these negative thoughts can also affect how we feel and our mood. So, for example, if you think that, my life is over, this is so terrible, and this is always going to be a bad situation, then you're going to feel very, very down and not wanting to do very much. Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
observing our thoughts.
there's one quote that I really, really like, where focus goes, energy flows. I love that quote a lot. So whenever that we are experiencing, like once again, thanks for sharing the tips. I've been practicing that for quite some time now.
Mm,
Focus goes, energy flows. So instead of being in a helplessness state, think of what we can do. Oh, that would be the next point, isn't it? I'll
yeah.
give it back to you.
It's gonna come back to that. So definitely observe your thoughts and feelings, make it a powerful situation, but also not to get so caught up in thoughts. Having very helpful coping thoughts like this will pass too. I will be able to make it out of this. We'll get back on track. Things like that would actually really help. And rather than thinking too much about the future, it's just becoming aware about the present and what is within your attention focus. So very good, Kelvin. So V stands for being very kind to yourself, because right now everyone is struggling. And one of the things is that a lot of time people, when they're struggling initially with the adjustment, they feel like they're failing. So maybe, I'm not on top of my household chores, or maybe with work, I'm struggling with the computer, having to use a lot of technology for the first time. So I'm struggling. And sometimes that could make a feeling of being, not very good. I'm not good at this. I'm not good at that. So that's all this feeling. So being very kind to yourself can really just help that part about being compassion, so we can move past accepting that we all have challenges that we're facing, and well done facing those challenges as it comes. It's okay that you're struggling, and it takes time to get better at something that we've never done before.
Yeah, I think you mentioned one of the note yesterday is that
Mm,
most of us have our own inner critics all the time.
mm,
We are not good enough. We are not good at this. We're not good at that.
mhm, mhm.
How do we overcome that kind of feeling?
Yeah, so especially during this time when your inner critic might be really loud, you know, using those earlier steps when we talk about observe your thoughts and feelings, you can just say, oh, the inner critic is here again.
Mhm.
Oh, what does it have to say this time? And actually just looking at it from a thought perspective rather than a truth perspective. It doesn't mean that you're thinking about it means it's true. It just you're thinking about it. It's a thought. So you can use your attention to actually detach from that, and then use some kindness to go and say, well, everyone is struggling, isn't it? And if
Mhm.
someone like a friend is struggling, I wouldn't go and say, well, you're quite bad. You would say that, hey, you're trying really hard. This is also very tough for me. I'm also struggling not to ajak you to go mama, at 12 o'clock at night, I'm also struggling. So actually having that empathy can really help.
Okay, great.
So shall we move on to the next one?
Yeah, I think let's move on to the next one.
Yeah. So I is something I really like, which is identify what you can do. So at this time, there might be a lot of things that feels outside of your control. The idea here is identify what is in your control. What is it that you can still do? Right? So even if it's a small step, it's something that you can do and you can focus on. So, controlling, making sure that you still get enough exercise, you get enough, like if I want to go outdoors, maybe I can't go very far, but I can still do outside, gardening, or if I can actually open my balcony window. Things like that, like we talked about calling friends, giving support to one another. If someone's struggling, reach out, give help. So there's actually a really beautiful sense of community helping each other right now as well. And these are the people that I feel like have really been energized by thinking what is within my control, what I can do, rather than what I can't do and what I have to think about in the future. So those stuff we can't really control, but the stuff that we can do right now can really help.
Okay, all right. Great tips from there. Probably. Sorry, just now I jumped into I straight away, skipping the B.
That's okay. We already talked about it, so that's great.
All
So
right.
making sure that things like getting enough, if I need nature, I get enough sun. You can see I have my little garden happening here. So anything that makes us feel like that's within our control, that is a choice that we can do. Okay.
Then from
Um,
your
hmm.
expertise and from your experience, what are the things that you would recommend for people, very baby steps, and what you would recommend for them to put them into control?
Mm. So I think one of the major things here could be routine. So routine is something that we know has actually been very important. We also take a long time to actually form a routine that helps. And one of the biggest loss at the moment that we're feeling is the loss of routine. Not just a loss of freedom, but loss of routine. So actually coming back to what is important to you. So finding out what is important to me. So for me, I'm still finding it very important for me to have uh, Zumba classes and still seeing some of my gym friends. So I might make a time at that specific time of the day to actually be able to connect with them and see them. So anything that's important to you, you can make time for it. Like even taking, if you can't take a short walk, even just doing breathing exercises outside, looking at nature, looking at the trees, those things could really help. And it also depends on what is very important to you. We can prioritize that.
Okay. All right. Let's move
Yeah,
on to the next one.
which is D, lucky
D.
last.
Yes.
So with D, I like to say divide your time. So at the moment, because we go from week 1 to week 2, week 3, it's after a while it becomes a bit of a blur. So divide your time actually stands for make your day count. So during the different time of the day, make it count. So right now people are working from home, and sometimes what happens is that they might have, again coming back to the routine, they might actually not have time for lunch. They actually don't take time out for lunch, or they don't actually take time
Mm,
out for exercise, or people might actually even work too much, because right now there's a sense, oh, my boss can't see me working, I need to work more, or all the clients sending me emails late at night because they're working as well. So sometimes what happens is that that could impact your regular meal times, that could impact your relationship with family, that could also impact in terms of a sense of rest and sleep. So divide your time just simply means making sure that you intentionally make the time work for you. So making sure you have time for connection, time to ground yourself, time to check in, but also time that is meaningful, meaning like if you're feeling productive, then making sure you do, if you wanted to, some reading or some other personal development stuff, if you wanted to. But otherwise, for some, it could be having time to rest, making sure they still have time to play with their kids, things like that, which sometimes could be very, very challenging right now. So it's like a task, being a taskmaster, but it could really just help you get a sense of some sense of being in charge again of your day, rather than is today Monday or is today Saturday, and you can't tell the difference.
oh yeah, just now you mentioned about books. What sort of self-help book that you would strongly recommend during this period of time? Do you have
So
anything in mind?
personally, there's quite a few speakers at the moment that are creating quite a bit of a movement to help people to understand and be also kind and compassionate, but also be productive in that time right now. One of the person is called Mark Brackett. He has a book released, and right now actually is sold out on Amazon. So he say probably you have to go onto Audible or other Amazon to order it from Amazon. But his book is called Permission to Feel, something that I personally feel is a very good read, just to be aware. When you're actually aware of your thoughts, your feelings, and you're aware about how to manage your feelings, like what we were talking about today, by using all the steps, then all the more you can then move through this period, even though it's a very difficult period, to actually even survive this period, to arrive on the other side, to feel okay about the situation is very important.
Once again, I would like to stress this very much. COVID-19 will actually come to an end, and most of our lives will actually resume as per normal. That is
Mm,
that is something that is really, really true, and it will be happening as well. Um, Forget about crisis for the moment. because it has not hit us yet, right?
Correct. There's
Okay.
no point in being in crisis mode all the time. So it's a crisis at the start. After that, you need to move past the crisis to management and then back to that control. So it's very good that you pointed that out. It's like one of the most powerful things is that this too will pass. It won't be forever.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much for sharing the COVID tips with us. I'm sure that everyone will remember the acronyms. And if let's say they want to have more in-depth to learn about themselves and their depression, and if they want to find someone else to talk to, how can they get in connect with you?
So the best way to reach myself, if you say have any questions or if you want to have a look at the services, I know I'm based in Australia, but I'm also very much anak Malaysia at heart. So if you need to reach out at all, there's the website that you can go to. So it's not on www. So I emphasize it's not www. You can just Google as safehavenpsychology.com.au. There'll be some ways of reaching me there through the email. It might be very hard for me to spell it out right now. So I'll just direct it to the website. And anything else at all, I'm pretty sure that we'll want to create a support group at some point to see what we can do. From Kelvin's perspective, I really appreciate his initiative to help the local community. Not just from the medical side of things, but also from a mental health perspective, which is, I feel, very important, and I am very grateful for the opportunity.
And very thank you very much, Joyce, for picking up this call and arranging this live session as well. Because what I believe is everything starts from the mind. If let's say we are able to control our thoughts, then most of the symptoms will actually go away as well. It's how we are taking charge of our life. When we are taking charge, everything seems to be under control. That will include our well-being in general as well. That could include blood pressure, because sometimes tension and stress will cause an increase in blood pressure. That's how I view from it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the body matters and also the mind matters, and we have to find out how to look after both.
All right. Thank you very much, Joyce, for joining us today. Once again, thank you very much.
Yeah, my pleasure too. Thank you, Kelvin.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, speak to you soon. Bye.